Welcome back to Beauty Gains episode 16. We are here today with our third male guest, Dave Hurt. You guys have probably seen him either posting for us or everything like that. He's part of our, you guys call it our sister podcast. I guess it's a brother podcast.
Yeah.
The Man Card. So Dave is coming on for multiple different reasons, I'd say. He's a nutrition coach, which a lot of our episodes that we're getting a lot of feedback from, I keep getting messages, especially after our last one with Nikki, a lot of women really intaking the nutrition aspect of fitness and health and stuff. So I think it's a good next step is to bring on an actual nutrition coach, which is Dave. Dave's actually my nutrition coach. So we talk a lot about how, like, I'm into health and fitness. It's my profession. I help people with nutrition all the time. Dave is probably one of the smartest people I've ever spoken to, which is why I took my nutrition over to him when it comes to it. So that's going to be a lot. And we'll talk about life. We'll talk about different aspects too. He's a business owner, dad, all of these different things that he can also bring into perspective for us from the male perspective. We've been talking a lot about dating, relationships, mindsets, but especially this whole nutrition part of it. Again, being still January, our first episode of the new year just happened with Nikki, and a lot of people enjoyed that. So just keeping that momentum going and keeping building up on those things to help you guys out. So Dave, hi.
Hi.
Hello. How are you?
Good. Thanks
Probably
for having me.
the deepest voice we're going to have on here. So it'll be a good mixture. So why don't you kind of go into how you got into nutrition coaching in general and kind of your background as to why you're so proficient in doing that.
Yeah, so I was always passionate about training and nutrition even when I worked in other fields. My educational background is in biochem and then physiology in grad school, and I was always passionate about it, but I got into other things and sort of just took care of my own nutrition and helped people out on the side kind of as a passion project. And really so I owned a business that I sold, and after that I just wanted to do what I enjoyed and what I loved, and for me that's just helping people with their nutrition. And I got into coaching people more, I guess, professionally, kind of through working with the supplement company that I work for, First Form, and coaching people through their Legionnaire program and stuff, and started just sort of doing it for free for a while I worked in my corporate job and owned my business, and sort of established myself and sort of proved to myself and others that I could do it. And then after I sold the business, I started full-time coaching, and that's what I've been doing ever since.
Now you own your own company, you own your own business that is kind of what your nutrition coaching is through. So Dave doesn't work like in a gym or through a company.
Correct.
Dave does this solely like on his own independently. That's your Just Work company. So with it, his backgrounds, we always talk about you might have gone to school for something, or you have a background in something, and then you just decide this isn't what I want to do. I know when we spoke on Man Card and the Nobody Sleeves Masculinity one, when we were introducing you, like your background is in biochem. So I always found that interesting because people go through schooling and you come out with all of this knowledge, but it's not necessarily like, you don't necessarily have to be a biochemist sitting in a lab with like tubes and going through, which you ended up not wanting to do.
Yeah,
like that's what you originated wanting to do, and then you realized you didn't want to do it, but you still took all of that knowledge that you took from your schooling, and that's what makes you, to me, like a very proficient nutrition coach, because you know the chemical breakdown of everything. So you have a lot of people who get like nutrition specialties, or even like people who go to school for it who don't necessarily hone in on that biochem part and the chemical breakdown in your body and the chemical component of combining foods together. I always find that when I eat something together, you're not paying attention to it so much. You're like, oh, I'm just going to eat this and this. And then you don't realize why something doesn't feel right or doesn't settle right in your stomach. And that's where you're very like knowledgeable in the sense of this doesn't mix correctly with this. You're going to have digestive issues if you mix this type of protein with this type of carb, or if you want the proper protein synthesis or protein like release, you should have this protein with this kind of carb and shit like that. And so that's like breaking it further and further and further down. And I know that a lot of people read shit on the internet and they're just like, oh, they'll ask me like, should I do keto? Should I do intermittent fasting? Should I do this or this?
Should I do keto?
Right. So how do you go about when people reach out to you for nutrition coaching and their first question is automatically something that they already think that they know about, and they think that that's what they want to do, and they reach out to you looking for a plan? How do you kind of educate those people as to, okay, I know you read this on the internet, but you don't need that. But they're like, wait, I don't understand. And then going through that.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I basically approach it just like you said, like, I know you read that. Here's why I wouldn't advocate that for most people, and sort of go through and break all that down. And then what I try to do is try to talk to them about what they have been doing and, what works for them, and explain sort of from a 40,000 foot view, the importance of macronutrients overall and calories overall. And that, we don't have to complicate it too much and make it too difficult. Again, people ask about keto and paleo and, all these very restrictive diets that ultimately adherence becomes an issue. And folks start out doing well with keto, but then, they'll have a snack that's a carb, and, it always ends up going back to falling out of ketosis, gaining a bunch of weight, et cetera, et cetera. So I just explain it to them that way and tell them that, keto is not, it's great in certain circumstances, diabetic folks, et cetera, potentially. But for the most part, it just goes to what you said, educating them and taking the time to do that. And it might not always result in us working together, but I find that the best way to do it is just be honest about everything and say, look, I don't think you should do that. But some people are so, like, their friend did keto and lost a bunch of weight, and they're so dead set on doing it that you can't really, it's just.
I feel like a lot of people just see things on the internet and are like, oh, that'll work for me, and just automatically assume it'll work for them, but everybody's body's different.
Yeah, and there's definitely this sort of, the best way to describe it, like, get quick results mentality that folks have. And, again, like, keto results in quick weight loss and all these different fad things, even some of the cleanses and stuff. You see incredible results over short periods of time, but what those folks don't show is the rebound that happens several weeks after that. And people get caught up in that, and they want results quick. And ultimately, you've got to put in the time and the work, period.
I find that with anytime I do nutrition coaching with people, like, again, I try to stay, it's not that I try to stay away from it, but being a trainer and running like the No Windy Sleeves business, and then also doing nutrition coaching,
it's a lot.
Fully in-depth nutrition coaching is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to do it as best like advisement as I can be, but it gets like over and over again, like staying on top of people, on top of their workouts and on top of their nutrition. It just gets to be like this task that's just like not like more than you can handle as a fitness professional. But I think there is a time, like I was just talking to you the other day, like getting busier and busier, like I might start handing people that I would have time normally to coach nutritionally, because that's what you need. You need people to come in and align their nutrition with their workouts. So if I have people coming in working out 3 to 4 days a week, but they're eating absolute shit, they're wasting their time, they're wasting our time here, they're wasting their money overall. If you're not aligning your nutrition with your workouts, you're doing yourself a disservice. And I personally just went through that, and that's why me and you kind of linked up on that aspect. Is I do a shit ton of activity. So a lot of people just correlate, and I think I just made a post about this the other day. I think it was just like the 2-month transformation that I've already had with my body recomposition, is not paying so much attention to the weight on the scale and not thinking that food equals weight gain. And I think that's a huge issue that goes on with women, is that eating itself, they have such a terrible relationship with food that eating gets them anxious, because they're like, oh, I shouldn't be eating that. Like, I want to lose weight, I shouldn't be eating. And that puts you into, and it's not just so much what you're eating, it's just an unhealthy mindset for you to have. Because I have a lot of girls who do jujitsu and come in and work out 3-4 days a week, And then when they send me what they're eating, I ask them for like a 3-4 day journal. Tell me exactly what you're eating. Don't try to impress me. Don't try to be on your best behavior because you're sending in a homework assignment to me. If you lie to me, how am I going to help you? If you lie to me that you're working out 3-4 days a week and your nutrition, what you show me is spot on, there has to be an underlying issue as to why you're not losing weight. So be honest with what you're eating. And when they send me their food journals in, they're honest, but my mind is blown because for women who are so athletic and in shape, trying to be in shape,
incredibly
active, working out 4 days a week and then going to jujitsu 4 to 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And you're maybe intaking 30 grams of protein a day. And then all of your other nutrients come from sugar or carb or nothing. Mm-hmm. They're maybe intaking, like these girls who are probably supposed to be having 2,000 calorie or higher intake are taking in 700 calories a day.
Yeah. I mean, that is by far the most common thing that I encounter with female clients is that negative, just an overall negative connotation with eating, period.
Yeah.
And it takes some re-education and some retraining and sort of explaining the physiology behind it, because, what happens, you take that scenario where you have a girl who's doing jujitsu, training 4 days a week, eating under 1,000 calories a day. I don't care, what her job is, how active she is outside of that. Just the training that she's doing is enough to tell me that she's not eating enough, like by far. Mm-hmm. And your body responds to that caloric deficit once you get to a certain point by trying to hold on to energy reserves. And so even though it might be counterintuitive to most folks, like, because you're depriving your body so extremely of those calories, it's trying to hold on to everything it has, because you got to remember in an evolutionary context, at one point in history, that meant a famine was happening, right? So your body's not getting enough nutrient. It means, oh shit, stuff's bad out there. Let me hold on to the fat I have and use that for energy because I'm not consuming enough energy. And so that's the way I explain it to, 99% of the girls I work with, they have that exact same issue. It's like, you've got to give your body what it needs so it can let go of what it has.
Yeah.
And that's all fat is. It's just energy reserves.
Yeah.
And so, the other side of that, you mentioned 30 grams of protein. That's like, it's very difficult for females to eat enough protein when I start working with them. But, I ask them to trust in the process. And, ultimately protein it's going to do a few things. So first off, you should probably target like a gram per pound of goal body weight per day. That's like the industry standard. And protein is going to contribute to, one, your lean muscle mass. And, again, sort of going to like the negative connotation with that, a lot of girls are like, oh, I don't want to get big and bulky. It's damn near impossible. And, what they always say is like, I don't want to look like you, Dave. And I'm like, thanks, but that's not going to happen.
Literally, you got to do a bunch of shit.
Yeah. And a lot of time. But, so the skeletal muscle mass that protein helps you build and sustain by eating enough protein and training with weights, etc., is actually metabolically demanding. So what it does is muscle itself requires energy to exist, right? So if you eat enough protein and sustain your muscle mass, you're going to increase your resting metabolic rate. And you're just going to sit here and burn more calories than normal. So that's going to reduce your fat reserves as well. Yeah. So it's like, by not eating enough protein and being in a caloric deficit, you're like double teaming your body to say, hold on to fat.
Yep.
And as soon as you start doing those things, you just went through a recomp. Like, it melts off.
Yeah. And I know for me, especially, this whole thing happened, like, I've been like weights varying all over the place. And we saw when I was probably in my earlier mid 20s, I probably walked around like 122 to 125. And then I started doing like a strength training program. I bumped up. I was walking around 135. And then once quarantine happened and I couldn't lift as heavy as I was, or I wasn't being as active as I was, I started falling off with my nutrition as well, because in my head, I was like, well, I'm not working out as much, so I don't really need to intake this as much, or I'm going to start putting on more because my output isn't as much as it was. But then I got to a point where I was just very stagnant in everything. And then days roll into days and you're just like, you forget to even eat, because I went from needing the fuel to not needing anything. And then my body totally recomped. And back before quarantine happened, I never went above like 17, 18% body fat. After quarantine was over with, I was up into the 20s again.
Yeah.
And that's where I was. And like during doing Ant's strength program, I was getting stronger because I was just continuing to do weights and weights and weights. But I got so fucking annoyed because I didn't look like I was doing anything. Yeah. And that's what's happening with a lot of the girls that I was training, was that some of them, the girls that have the most success with me, I don't even say girls, guys and girls, the people who have the most success with me, that people are like, oh man, she's doing such a good job, she's doing great, are the people that come in and work out and put the time in, but then they're also taking care of it, their nutrition wise. Yeah. So they're following the plan that I give them. They're following it to the T, because they're starting to change their relationship with food as to, okay, I'm working my ass off to look a certain way, doing myself a disservice by not taking care of that as well. But a lot of it, again, it's not so much that you don't want to eat. People enjoy food, but it's like paralyzing for women, I feel like, to eat, because they think that that's going to contribute to more weight gain. Yeah. So I know that there are some people who have gone to doctors and they're like, this is what blows my mind with doctors. I think we spoke about it on one of the prior episodes, because I was bringing up the fact of when you put on muscle, you're literally burning more calories throughout the day just to sustain it. Yep. So you putting on muscle is going to help you keep fat loss off. There's a difference between, how do you explain to people, because the difference between weight loss and fat loss, because a lot of people hone in on that scale number. And we just talked about body composition. Body composition is literally what that number on the scale is made up of. Yeah. So like I just said, I went from about 22% body fat to 15% body fat when I started eating more. Mm-hmm. But it's not just eating more. We're not telling you just to like go out and eat. Yeah. Your nutrition has to encompass certain amount of protein, amount of carbs, what type combined together. But that's why if you don't know how to do it, you need to reach out to people who know how to do it. So again, like, I know how to do it.
And I don't know how to do it.
Like, I know how to do it, but I just needed the structure of somebody else telling me what to do it at this point. So if you just need that, and then you can like reconvene and feel how it is. I know that, again, like, we'll get back to you answering the difference between weight loss and fat loss, because I know a lot of doctors recommend for major weight loss is for people to just be in always the common number, 1,200 calorie intake. That's it. I don't care what it's composed of, 1,200 calorie intake, and you're going to lose weight.
Isn't that what Weight Watchers does?
I don't know enough about Weight Watchers at all to encompass that.
I'm pretty sure it's like you have to have a certain amount of calories like a day.
Yeah, so it's literally like some doctors will recommend 1,200 calorie intake and like you should lose weight. I don't care what it encompasses, like protein, fat, or whatever. I think that's a terrible recommendation, because like, yes, you're going to see the number on the scale go down, but are you just trying to lose overall weight, or are you trying to rebuild and recompose your body? So how do you go about explaining to people the difference between weight loss and fat loss and going about that?
Yeah, and that's a great point. And it frustrates me that the medical community still talks about what you just said, and then like antiquated metrics like BMI. You know, according to my BMI, I'm morbidly obese. You know, it doesn't take into effect body composition at all. And body composition, as well as on the other side of things, macronutrient ratios is super important. So when we say macronutrients, we're talking about proteins, carbs, and fats. And then just to go back really quick, we keep saying recomp. All that means is changing the composition of your body. So you'll be the same weight with less body fat, maybe a little more muscle mass, et cetera. So, and then just the shorthand for that is recomp. And that's what we just did with Jess. But yeah, so what I explain to folks, and I talk about this a lot with my clients, the difference between the scale and the mirror. And that's essentially weight loss versus fat loss. Yeah. And, you know, I'll make people, if they're getting really caught up in it, and, you know, even working with me regularly, I tell you to weigh yourself once a week and that's it. It's just one metric we can use, because body composition is super important. And if you're gaining skeletal muscle mass while losing fat, i.e. recomping, you might not see that scale change at all, but your waistline is shrinking. You know, your
clothes fit different.
Your clothes hang differently on your body, and your body is changing. I mean, Jess just described it perfectly. She was over 20% body fat at the same weight that she is now at 15.1% body fat. And that's why if she was just looking at the scale, she might think she's not making any progress. So you have to keep that in mind. And look, ultimately at the end of the day, the scale is just an arbitrary number anyway. Who cares how much you weigh as long as you look great, you feel great, you're, you know, like efficient as a human. That's all that should matter. Because, you know, going back to the 1200 calorie thing, I mean, that's doing such a disservice to people because everybody's different. Like everybody's a different height, a different, you know, starting point weight wise, different fat percentage. Like it's a caloric deficit will always result in weight loss, like she said, but it might not always result in fat loss because you might lose skeletal muscle mass along with fat, along with, you know, bone density and all kinds of things, depending on what you're eating. So,
right. But at a certain point, like you said, that stops because now your body is starting to retain it. There are sometimes I see, like we talk about social media and Instagram and stuff, I'll see trainers and like, this is what mildly drives me nuts about our industry is the fact that people try to take like basic science and say, no, that's wrong because they want to seem like they came out with something different.
Yeah.
So I was listening to, I think Brandon showed me this like months ago that this one like trainer on Instagram that had a bunch of followers. I don't know any of her fucking certifications or anything like that, but she was trying to argue with the phrase like starving, that if like you starve yourself, that your body goes into starvation mode and holds on to whatever. And she tried to throw out some like big ass term to seem like she was fucking smart. But at the end of the day, it is a fucking thing. Yeah, like we always talk going back concept. We always talk about going back to like back when humans needed to literally hunt and gather. And that if you couldn't find food for forever, your body's natural instinct was to store reserves. So yeah, it's not the same anymore, but your body as like a primal thing still resorts back to its, I don't even know what you want to call it. I'm thinking in my head of some sort of fucking computer term, but like
default setting.
Yeah, it goes back. Perfect. Thank you so much.
No problem.
It goes back to your default settings of back when we were created. Yeah, we evolve it when we get used to that shit, but our body literally has these natural things that we do in order to survive.
Yeah, and real quick on that, because this is an important point, especially working with females, because yes, there are folks who struggle with fat loss. And that goes back to this evolutionary history of dealing with famine, holding on to energy reserves, because what happened is there's different populations of humans. As they evolved, those populations were exposed to differing conditions, and certain groups evolved to be more efficient in terms of caloric utilization and holding on to fat, right? So like genetically, you can be predisposed to hold on to more fat just because you're technically a better survivor.
Yeah, in certain areas of the world.
But like, then when you take that and you put it in America with a surplus of calories, it becomes obesity.
Right.
And I just like to bring that up because a lot of folks will think, my family's fat, I'm fat, we're just fat, like there's no hope. And it's probably a little bit of that. It's a little bit of, you know, I mean, there are people who are naturally thin. There are people who are naturally a little heavier. And it stems back to what Jess was just talking about. Like we evolved in different populations in different parts of the world. So to that, I would say, don't get discouraged. We just have to make the plan more specific to your metabolism.
Right. And that's where it sucks. And we speak about it a bunch. Like, I know that, like, I physically, even though I have like some hard times, I know that I'm physically not, I won't say privileged, but like I lucked out in that aspect that I can, you know,
all
what
of
I
us
mean?
Sitting at this table.
Yeah, lucked out that like our genetics and maybe just like our work ethic or whatever we have, it like it's beneficial to us.
If I don't told you guys my diet,
like if I ate like Courtney ate, fucking forget about it.
I eat chicken parma vodka sauce.
You don't want to talk to, like, we won't talk about Courtney. We won't talk about Courtney.
We're just gonna leave that out.
But it sucks to say, but some people have to work harder than others, and it shouldn't.
That's just a fact.
It is. It literally is in every aspect of life. there are people who have to work harder than others. People aren't naturally whatever way because of genetic evolution or any shit like that. It's not your fault, but sorry, but you got to work harder.
You were dealt that card, accept it, and let's get you past it.
Right. And like, I think that's a big proponent of like me, like a lot of people, and we always talk about like relativity. So let's say that like people know me for fitness. It's literally my entire fucking life. So when I do something, people are like, oh, well, that's just, she fucking does that every day. It's fucking easy for her. It's fucking, so if Courtney turned around and was like full fucking transformation, fucking figure out there, they'd be like, well, fucking Courtney was just eating chicken fucking Primavera fucking 7 days a week. And now she changed. So there would be more relatable to her transformation
100%.
because they saw her come from one to the other.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of the time, I know that you do it too. We try to show you what we used to look like.
Yeah.
Or when I fall off, I'll post, hey, like literally my transformation picture the other day. I got so tired of looking like I didn't fucking work out when I've been working out like almost daily for 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, when you and I first became friends, I remember you saying that. Like, I don't look like I work out. Like, this
it drove
is so
me fucking
frustrating.
nuts.
Yeah.
I looked like I did not do shit. It looked like I just went to the gym like 2 days a week and just like brushed up
Now,
on maintenance shit.
I will say though, like you hold yourself to a high standard. Like a lot of people would have looked at you.
You can't tell me in that fucking picture side by side that fucking those legs of mine look like I did shit. No, it didn't.
To you.
To me, it looked like you did it because if you saw mine.
I mean, yes, compared to what you became.
But compared to my output is what I'm saying.
Absolutely. I'm just saying like, because here's why I wanted to bring that up, because this is another thing is like when I post like my transformation, I've been training for 18 years. And so like if I show myself at 175 pounds versus today at 255 pounds, I'm like, look how much I changed. And then I get comments like, you know, oh, boo-hoo, you still had abs at 175 pounds. And, you know, it can sort of backfire and discourage people like, oh, fuck, he looked like that when he started. And now, you know, I don't look like that. And I'm just saying that because like, it's all relative.
Yeah.
Going back to the relativity.
Well,
thing.
I was also going to say how, like, I know for me, when people ask me, like, how long have you been doing this? And then they might be in like their like 30s, 40s, 50s.
Right.
And then you're like, oh, I've been doing this for 10, 18 years.
Like,
and they're like, well,
there
fuck,
goes that.
like 10 years, I'm going to be fucking 60. I don't give a fuck by then. How do you keep people from not being discouraged?
Yeah.
But like, what's your advice for people who are just starting off later on in life?
That's another great question. And
I got a lot of that.
You do. Usually what I do in that situation, because I have dealt with that, is I'll have examples of folks that have made changes in a relatively short period of time through First Form, et cetera. Like we have a lot of transformations. So I can show them examples.
Right.
But also, you know, I talk about the importance of health and foundational health and like, look, you might not be Mr. Universe when you're 60 and you're 58 now, but like we're going to help increase your bone density. We're going to improve your digestive health, you know, just sort of go through all these things and like you're going to add 10 to 15 years to your life. And, you know, there's a direct correlation. Lane Norton talks about this a lot. He's a PhD in this field and he's very, very like blatant, you know, blunt about everything. There's a 1-to-1 correlation between obesity and how long you live. Like that's just a fact. So if you want to live longer, you should get your shit together. So in my opinion, like that's the biggest reason. But no, I mean, I just talk about health and, you know, I do show them examples of like, I don't think this is the most important thing, but you can change the way you look pretty damn fast, you know, at that age too.
Yeah. And that's a huge thing that a lot of people, and I try to hone it in when we're talking about nutrition and we're talking about working out, is that when people aren't seeing results immediately, but you ask them the questions, well, how are you feeling? Do you have more energy?
Yeah.
Are your clothes fitting better?
They might not even realize all those things.
No, but then they start
them.
thinking about it. They're like, oh, I don't want to go back to bed at like noon anymore. Like I can get to 5 p.m. and I feel better because I'm eating throughout the day. I don't feel as hungry. I don't want to snack as more. My clothes are fitting, like they're falling off. I have girls in here that are like, oh man, like the scale's not really like moving. I've lost like 5 pounds. And then as they're doing their fucking stretches in the beginning, they're pulling up their pants like fucking 20,000 times. I was like, what are you doing with your pants? They're like, I don't know, they're falling off. I go,
wonder why.
Like what, when do they get these loose? And they're like,
you lost 10 pounds of fat and gained 5 pounds of muscle.
Right. So they're like, oh, my clothes, and they'll say it. They're like frustrated, but they're answering it at the same time. They're like, fuck, like I'm not losing any weight, but my clothes, like I went from my 16s to my 12s, but I just feel like I'm like, you went from 16s to 12s. You went from double XL to large. Like, if the number on the scale isn't moving, but you have more energy, you can get through the day easier. You can go through your tasks. You can go through your workouts. You're looking forward to. And one of my girls was saying how now she doesn't even crave to eat snacks. She's like, I don't even want the sweets anymore because she started following her nutrition better. She's like, I'm not perfect, but my relationship with food is changing. And I think that's a big emphasis that people miss on, is they just think about food as a bad thing because it's going to make them fat. So they don't think about it as fuel. They think about food as the enemy because food equals weight gain.
Right. There's that. And then the other end of the spectrum is food equals emotional satisfaction. Because it's just, mouth pleasure.
Yeah.
And if you can get in between those two things to where food is fuel, then that's going to be the sweet spot, especially if you're like a lot of your girls being active in jiu-jitsu, training with weights. I mean, fuck, they're like halfway there. If you dial in that nutrition, like your body changes so fucking fast, it'll make your head spin.
One of the girls the other day was talking about losing weight for a tournament. They have like this goal that by June they wanted to lose a certain amount of weight for this tournament. And when I was talking to them about what weight class they were wanting to go into, I was like, okay, let's kind of talk about that because is
a lot of weight loss.
A lot of weight, and both of them different amounts. One of them, whatever. But the one statement that resonated with me was, I just don't feel strong at this weight that I'm at. And then when I got her journal in of what she was eating, the reason why you don't feel strong at your weight is because you don't have enough fucking energy.
Right. And losing weight is not going to make you feel stronger.
No, you eating correctly is going to make you feel stronger at your weight. For sure, she has weight to lose.
Yeah.
Not the amount that she wanted or thinks that she needs to lose, but she needs to redial in her nutrition for her to feel stronger, because she doesn't feel strong and she doesn't have the energy and she doesn't feel strong at her weight. It's because she has no fuel that's backing up her activity.
Absolutely. And along those lines, one thing that I was just thinking about that is sort of related to the negative connotation we give, or women especially give eating in general, is carbs, right? So I talk to so many women, especially in like my initial consultations, who are just terrified of carbs specifically, right? Like I try not to eat any carbs. I'll eat a salad and then I'll eat,
I get that all the time.
Yeah.
I get when I hand them over and they see a carb, they're like, there's sweet potatoes on here, or there's there's toast on here.
Oh wait, that's a carb. Carbs are bad,
they're
right?
Like, carbs are bad. I'm like, no,
no, carbs are not bad. And I think
Courtney's like, carbs are not bad.
Not for me.
Like, I went on all carb diet.
So much. I'm an all carb diet.
So, and that's just another, as a nutrition coach, if there are nutrition coaches listening or trainer or whoever, like that's just another teachable opportunity, because carbs are not bad. You need carbs for a number of things. Like you need carbs for your brain to function properly. You need fats for your brain to function properly. You need fats for hormonal production. You need carbs for intramuscular glycogen, which drives your energy and your workouts. So if she doesn't feel strong at that weight, it's probably because she's not eating enough carbs combined with enough protein. And then carbs are important for recovery after your workouts. So, again, thinking about your girls who do all these different active things, so one of the worst things you can do in terms of your overall well-being, if you're just the average, we use the term general population, you're not some elite athlete, is try to bust your ass in the gym and eat like no carbs. Like you're going to feel like shit. You'll have no energy. So carbs are important, but then within that, there's different types of carbs. Like when you made your intro, that's something I'm big on is high versus low glycemic index carbs, and then nutrient timing. So eat your higher glycemic index carbs right after your workout to drive nutrients into the cells. And so there's all these nuanced things that are important, but in general, like, don't be afraid to eat carbs because you need them for so many things.
I know that you guys are listening and you're like, what the fuck is a glycemic index? What the fuck is
sorry.
That's me right now.
So I can say
yeah,
what that
so
is.
what, like, we'll have Dave explain really quick what that means in general, but we will do like a post for you guys as well. Kind of, we'll have Dave make a little cheat sheet to kind of show you different carbs that are on high and low spectrum of those and what he means by all of that. So if you're lost right now, Dave's going to help you find your way, and then we will be sure to give you a little cheat sheet later on after this as well. So go ahead.
Yeah, so the glycemic index really just refers to complex versus simple carbs or sugars and how quickly they break down in the body. So a high glycemic index carb would be like a sugar, like sucrose, like the shit you put in your coffee. Like that's high glycemic index. And ultimately, the big difference between that and, say, a sweet potato, which is lower glycemic index, it breaks down slowly in the body, is the stimulation of of insulin, which is very important for a number of things in your body. But insulin is going to tell the body to drive nutrients into the cells. And so you don't want to just do that willy-nilly all through the fucking day and be on a roller coaster of insulin.
You're such a Southern person. You don't want to get all willy-nilly on us.
Carolinas represent.
Keep going.
So I know it's this weird thing where it's like glycemic index, willy-nilly. But so that's what I'm talking about when I refer to that, like simple sugars versus complex carbs and their effect on insulin in your body, which is really important ultimately for replenishing energy and fat retention, which is ultimately what most people are concerned about.
So, like, all right, I'm just got questions.
Ask it however you want to ask it.
So, like, let's say, like,
I probably
do,
had the question. So
okay. Let's say, like, I do like a leg day, and I don't really work out that much, but like, let's say, like, I do like a heavy leg day for me, not you. What would I have to eat? Like, would I have to eat more?
So unfortunately, the best answer to almost every question in biology or exercise science is it depends. But in general, I would say if you're doing an incredibly taxing workout that stresses the body, yes, you would need to eat more, but not just more calories in general. Again, probably more post-workout carb, probably some previous to your workout to make sure you've got enough intramuscular glycogen for energy, etc. And then otherwise, I'd keep protein and fats probably.
So then, when
the same.
like every like workout be different as to like what I eat.
I don't want to overcomplicate things for the average person. In general, no.
I am the average person.
Yeah, most people just need to focus on. Well, really, you can distill it into two things.
Yeah.
Your calories and your protein. All right. If your calories are within the number you need to be at for the day, and your protein is high enough for the day, you're going to be in a good place.
Okay.
So most folks don't need to worry about nutrient timing based on their workout and all this, complex shit. Most people just need to be in a caloric deficit and eat enough protein, period.
Okay.
Like 80% of people, probably 90% of people.
Okay.
And the calorie number depends on your goals. It depends on your current body weight. It depends on your activity level, but that's something that someone like me or Jess can give to someone.
Yeah. Also, too, like a lot of hairdressers like that I work with, like on a Saturday, we don't have any time to even eat anything. So I usually eat like a bigger breakfast, and then like I have energy throughout the day. But a lot of my friends will have like toast in the morning and then like don't eat. So like, what can I tell them that they should eat in the morning to like get them at least through? A
protein and a fat.
Okay.
Because the protein is just important overall every day, no matter you're trying to gain muscle, lose fat, whatever. And then the fat is going to fats slow the rate of absorption and digestion in the body. So it's going to result in prolonged energy throughout the day.
Okay.
So like nut butters, like peanut butter, almond butter, shit like that.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know.
So like have some toast with some peanut butter on it and, maybe some source of protein.
Right.
Yeah. So I think how you were just touching on it and you just asking more and more questions, which is good. But I think that's what happens with people is that they try to overcomplicate things.
Definitely.
So again, how we were just saying, like, I remember one time I was training when one of my friends does strongman, let's say, and they were like, my nutrition sucks and I can't get it together. And those specific athletes that are trying to reach certain things while not like overdoing it or underdoing it, but to be on it, like those are specific people who should be, okay, if you're doing strongman lifts today, your calorie intake might be like 3,300 calories, but days that you're not doing strongman or doing any powerlifting, you might just need to be at like a 2.7. So that's all specific things that when you're just trying to just lose weight, you're not training for a specific like sporting event or activity that you need to be exerting, and your training days differentiate with exertion. Like that's somebody that's why people get coaches. Yeah. And that's why somebody can do that thinking for you. So you're not like, okay, I'm doing strongman today, so that means that my calorie intake needs to be here. So that means that this needs to, if you're literally just trying to lose weight and trying to get stronger, all you need to worry about is like what Dave was saying, make sure your protein intake is there, your water intake is there, your sleep is on point. Yep. Take care of those very basic, simple things. Just like, and the easiest thing to do is, besides even counting like macros yourself, just use one of those apps. Like there are so many fucking apps out there now. And
they've gotten so good.
Yeah, at being so spot on. You literally input all of your information. They do everything for you. And all you have to do is literally scan the barcode and say whatever your serving size is. But people like can't take the time to do that. So they're just like, I'm just going to eat everything. I think that this is enough protein. It's and that's the other thing we talked about with like marketing and fitness marketing is they just, some bars like, meal replacement bar, it has 70 grams of protein. You can't digest 70 grams of protein in an hour. So you need to maybe eat half of that, and then you have half that later on so you can digest it correctly. But it's all like random things that people try to overcomplicate because they read so much, because they're trying to find the best and quickest way to do things rather than just get a healthy grasp of activity and food intake. Yeah. But rather than just get this healthy lifestyle and just continue to learn based off of that step by step. People are like, I need to lose 30 pounds in 3 months. And it's like, probably not going to happen if you've been trying to lose 30 pounds for a year now and that hasn't worked. Yeah. So 30 pounds in probably 3 months is probably not going to be realistic.
And also, again, why 30 pounds? Are you competing in a weight class event? Right. If not, then why don't we just talk about how you want to look?
Right. So it's simplifying shit. Yeah, Stop trying to overcomplicate things and just get your relationship with your healthy lifestyle in sync with what you want. And I think a lot of the time too, people don't actually know what they want. They're like, oh, I see this or this. And I had one girl who was like, I've never worked out before because like I always thought I had a nice body, and I never saw somebody that I wanted to look like. But I just saw this music video the other day, and I think that this girl has the same body type as I do, so I think maybe I can look like her. And she was the first person that actually brought me somebody that actually was what she could look like. I get people who are like frail, thin, like, but like body dysmorphia, like thin, being like, I want to look like J-Lo and Beyonce.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, I can't even get you to eat over 1,000 calories. Yeah. J-Lo and Beyonce are well over that with lifting multiple times a day. So this girl came in and she was like, I think this girl's my body structure. I think this is, it was the first time I'm mind blown. I was like, yes, we can actually do this. Yeah. But we have to get everything in line for you to do this.
And talking about like people not knowing how they want to look or what they want to look like, you know, that's one of the things that I'll use when someone says to me, specifically a female, like, I don't want to get too bulky. Why do you have me eating all this protein and lifting weights? I don't want to be jacked and stuff. Is I'll show them pictures of a girl who I know for a fact. So like one of our athletes with First Form, like I know what she's doing. I know her diet. I know her training. I say, well, what do you think about her body? Oh yeah, that would be amazing. She's so toned. And I'm like, she eats 150 grams of protein a day, trains heavy as fuck with weights.
Yeah.
And
that's like Carrie Underwood, like her legs are insane, and like you obviously have to, I'm sure, eat a lot and work like a lot. Yeah,
I mean, and that's just like, if you're a female, you are not. Don't worry about putting on too much muscle and getting bulky. Most men can't put on muscle and get bulky,
and your bodies are genetically made for that.
Right. Yeah.
So if you guys can't do it, like, I think that, again, it's a lot of things that are just seen and people don't get it. Like, you may never look like that girl. Again, with genetics, with your eating, with their training, you shouldn't, like, again, it's nice to have motivation from somebody else, but my work might look, we could do the same exact thing, but you might look entirely different than me, just based on how our body is made.
That you will.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally different. So try to be like the best. I know it's cliche and corny, but if you can be like the best version of yourself, that's what you should want.
Yeah.
You should just want to see what this is like that one. Please go back and forth whether that Socrates fucking quote is for men or females. Growing old without ever seeing the potential of your body.
Well, I think it's for everybody.
Yeah, it's for but I don't know what the actual quote was for, but it doesn't matter. But you should want to see what your body's capable of. Even if your job or your life isn't revolved around fitness or anything like that, the body is such a cool fucking thing. We can adapt to so many different things, and for you to just like waste this like corpse.
I have to say too, because like I don't follow all of this, but like I just, even something simple like sleep, I just started taking melatonin, and I don't know what you guys think about that, but like I don't sleep ever, and I was going to bed at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was sleeping late, and I'm like, you know what, like this has to change. So I started to, even if I was going to bed late, I was still forcing myself to get up early, and even in the past 2 weeks I've just been doing that. I noticed a huge difference. Even just like me working, like I start to work out again. I'm like, I have so much more energy, and then I end up going to sleep earlier, and the melatonin's really been helping me a lot.
There's like a direct correlation between the amount of sleep you get, the amount of stress that your body's going over, as to how much fat your body retains as well. So it's all of these different things. So that's why we're saying don't overcomplicate it. Don't go and do like 1,000 different things. Just try to get this healthy lifestyle.
I just try to like schedule it now. Like I'm like, all right, at least be in bed by 11 and just be laying there. Just like force yourself to try to go to sleep.
It's tough, like, because I nerd out on this shit, and I'll start talking about insulin and fucking this and that, and I know that that's overwhelming to people. But you know, like you said, don't overcomplicate it, and truly there's like a few check boxes every day. If you do those things, you're gonna change your fucking life. Sleep enough, drink enough water, eat enough protein, keep your calories where they should be, exercise. Do resistance training. That's it. Like you do those things. Most people don't do all those things.
And you don't have to start. This is the other thing that people do that they fall off so fast. They do it all at once. Yeah. They're like, tomorrow, I'm going to drink a gallon of water. I'm going to eat my calories to the fucking macro. I'm going to get 8 hours of sleep for the next fucking week. And I'm going to go work out in the gym 5 days a week for an hour and a half. And then they do it for a week, and then their body is completely overwhelmed with the new stimulus. So let's say that...
Well, she's a great example. She just started focusing on sleep.
So sleep, all she did, you just have to change one thing and it makes a difference.
What happened was I got so run down that I ended up getting sick. And I was like, all right,
tonsillitis.
I had tonsillitis. It was awful. If you guys know me, I don't ever shut up. And I always talk. I couldn't talk for 4 days. For 4 days. I literally just slept. So I was like, all right, something has to change, because I was just running myself just thin. So I was like, all right, you know what, like forcing myself to go to bed by 11, just like started taking melatonin, and then like waking up early, and then not taking a nap throughout the day, so I'm tired to go to sleep. And then that really honestly changed so much already.
One step at a time. You don't need to overwhelm yourself with an entire overhaul at once. So even if it comes to eating, I just had a talk with one of my girls the other day about eating. Even if, like, this is a fucking marathon. This isn't like a quick, like everything's gonna change for you within a week or a month or even a year sometimes. Like I told one of the girls, and I'm never like, you need to be like straight up. I'm like, add 1 full meal in a day. Then next week, get both 2 meals in a day. Like you shouldn't automatically shock your body. Some people need to work that way. Some people need, I'm all in, or I can't do it at all. Some people need that, okay, get used to eating this breakfast. Okay, breakfast is good. Week later, add in the breakfast, add in the lunch. You got that down for a week? Good. Add that breakfast, lunch, add that dinner. Everybody's different. If you need a different step-by-step process in order for you to make this a lifestyle, you don't need to overhaul yourself by overwhelming yourself, and then you get frustrated because you can't keep up with everything at once. Take it step by step. It's all right.
And my goal, like, same thing with like the meal plans and stuff that I do for clients. You know, I tell everyone that I work with, like, you're not going to be on a meal plan forever. And my goal with all my clients is to also teach them how to do all this themselves.
Right.
So that like long term.
Sorry guys, I just yelled at you.
It's true. Like, I'll write you a meal plan that you can follow to the T, but my goal is eventually to get you to where you can intuitively eat throughout the day, have some flexibility in your life, and still be able to be within the numbers you need to be in to be healthy. And, that can mean like if it fits your macros type plan where you're like, okay, I know today I can have this and this and this for my macros, and I'll just eat what I want and track it. And then when I hit my numbers, I'm good. But like the goal is to have a long-term sustainable change in how you do things. Not just a meal plan is great. Like if you have certain goals and you want to learn and teach your body how to eat every few hours, how to eat certain types of foods, a meal plan is great, but you need to have the goal of getting to where you can intuitively do it yourself and learn why you're eating the things you're eating and all of that. And
in the beginning, like it's a pain in the ass because like when you're first learning to do it, I keep turning the heater on and off because I go from cold to hot. But when you need to like, let's say weigh your food and you don't know what 4 ounces of chicken looks like, you have to do that. It's tedious in the beginning, but now I don't have to weigh it anymore. I know from like visual what fucking 4 ounces of chopped up chicken looks like at this point. So in the beginning, like it'll take you a little bit of time, but you shouldn't, this is the other thing, you shouldn't have in your mind that this is a punishment, that changing how you're eating is a punishment. Because if you look at it in a negative way, every day you're going to be like, ugh, I got to eat this chicken and rice and broccoli again. At this point, it's just autopilot now. I eat the same shit fucking every day.
Yep.
But it's
like, I love it because I don't have to think about food.
No.
I know what I'm eating today.
Yeah, that's it. But that's, again, like we were saying before, the relationship with food. Some people just eat for enjoyment rather eating for a reason. And that's where people fall in line with it. Is they're just like, ugh, like I should be able to eat this. I've done this. Sure, you can, but just again, when you're not when you're not getting the results you want, just remember you were deciding to reward yourself all of those times for whatever reason, and fuck it, like do it, but don't tear yourself down. If you have an extreme fat loss goal and you're gonna fuck around, the only person that you're hurting is yourself. You're not hurting your coach. You're wasting both of your times, but you're not hurting anybody but yourself.
And I hear that all the time when people send me their numbers or whatever. It's like, I'm so sorry to disappoint you. I'm like, you're not disappointing me.
I don't give a shit. I'm going to remain 130 pounds at 15% body fat.
You're not doing this for me. You're doing this for you.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to change your mindset. And like you were saying about eating for enjoyment versus food as fuel, like you've got to teach yourself that like you got to get excited to eat that way by thinking about how your body's going to change, like what you're going to end up looking like let that be what excites you, because you're going to get there if you keep doing the right shit.
How much energy you feel, how much more you can get done with your day, how much better your hormone balance is, like all of these different things. It's not just aesthetic, it's how you function as a machine. Your body is a literal fucking machine.
We didn't even talk hormones, but like for you guys, like for females, it's so important.
Yeah.
And just getting your nutrition in check and eating the right ratio of macronutrients. Like I said, getting enough fats is so important for hormone production. And I mean, you guys, like we're all affected by hormones, but females especially, you can really mess stuff up if you're not getting those hormonal precursors through your diet.
Right.
Do you guys ever have clients that you're like, oh, can you guys go get a physical and like see blood work so you could like kind of give a nutrition plan off of that?
I do. So especially men that I work with, I'll ask them if they've had recent blood work. I can't tell them to go get blood work, but if they've had it and they don't mind sharing it with me, I'll look at it.
Because that would help more, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I work with a lot of like men who are kind of, late 30s, early 40s. They start their testosterone starts to drop and stuff like that. So it's helpful for me, for sure, but it's not an absolute requirement.
You can also see, what I find is good about people having physicals and having numbers and even knowing if they're on birth control or not. We spoke about in episodes prior.
Yeah, that's really important.
It's being able to give your client a peace of mind. Like, we're gonna change this if the diet and the exercise aren't working, and you're being honest with your nutrition that it's on. These levels might show that there might be something with your thyroid. There might be something with this, but eventually that might change. Like there are some conditions that we were talking about like PCOS, that some shit just fucks with your hormones and it fucking sucks. And like we talked about some,
is a tough one.
Yeah, hard. And sometimes it just, you got to work harder. And it's super fucking frustrating to tell somebody that has an underlying condition that's their body literally fighting against what they want.
Yeah.
And it sucks. But again, just pushing the healthy part. Continue to do this, because if you already have this underlying condition, you don't want more underlying conditions. So pushing nutrition, pushing physical activity is huge for how you function. But having that, like those lab results or your physical exam just helps us show that, okay, if this and this isn't working, it might be this level doing something, so we need to change this around. Same thing with birth control. Your fucking IUD is fucking with you. And again, I can't tell somebody to take it out, but I can explain to them, hey, your like weight loss might be stumped,
this is what we're up
because
against.
It's hormonal.
Yeah.
And like we can do as much as we want with diet or whatever. And then women are like, fuck, you're right. Like I didn't start gaining this weight until I put my IUD in a year ago. And this is where my 30 pounds started. And you don't only blame that. Obviously there are lifestyle pieces that come into play, but it's a huge component in knowing what's going on in your body. You can't fix it if you don't know it. So getting that physical exam and knowing what's going on in your body, especially if you're having issues losing weight or gaining weight.
Yeah.
We keep talking about weight loss, but there's also
thing.
weight gain. Whole fucking other thing.
Yeah.
I was at 165 when I was on birth control.
Mm-hmm.
I gained so much weight. As soon as I went off of it, now I'm at like 135.
It
It's
makes
a
a
fucking
big
thing.
difference. I mean, your hormones are like Jess said before, like your hormones are a motherfucker. Like they can, despite doing all the right things, if you have a hormonal issue, like you can be spinning your wheels. And one thing that popped in my mind, I just wanted to mention because I think it's helpful, is, and this is another thing I deal with females and men that I work with, is when you talk about water intake, you know, especially females, they'll talk about how they feel like they're retaining water or bloated or whatever, and it's counterintuitive, but they think I shouldn't. I don't want to drink more water because I already feel like I'm holding water. And it's like, what you need to know is you're holding water because you're not getting enough water.
Oh, okay.
You got to increase your water intake, and then your body will let go of the water it's retaining. So it's a little counterintuitive, but you know, once you start drinking enough water, you'll wake up in the morning and feel like, you know, like your skin is shrink wrapped. Like you're not going to feel that terrible bloated, you know, water retention feeling. And most people are like, fuck, I already feel that way. The last thing I want is more water. When it's the exact opposite.
I tell all my brides though, like, cause you could just tell in like your face too. I'm like, are you drinking enough water? Cause like their skin, like you'll see it in their skin. I'm like, your skin is so dry. Like your lips are really dry. Like there's only so much I could do. I'll put moisturizer on and it just soaks it all up. And I'm like, you need to drink more water.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
You're like, oh.
I'm like, there's
water
only
is
so much you
so
can do.
important.
Yeah.
That's just another, water and rest we just kind of look past, and I'm guilty of it as well. I mean, I'll nail my macros and everything every day and train hard and all this, and then I'll be like, oh fuck, I missed my water the last 4 days and I've slept 4 hours a night. And it's like, even the people who know better, you know, it's an easy mistake to make.
Yeah, and how we're talking about will probably be like the last piece that we talk about this, because I want to get on to at least a little other topics. This is going to be a long one again, guys, but this is good. We like having long ones because this is super beneficial to you guys, because I know I'm getting a lot of messages about this.
So much,
yeah, but I definitely want to get onto like another aspect. Like Courtney will take over what she wanted to mostly talk about, and then we'll get your beauty tip later. But like, I think I started bringing it up briefly when Nikki was on, and how you just brought up like taking in water to get rid of water. That's the same thing. I started talking about my like analogy that I use when it comes to talking to women about food and relationship. And I talk about having little elves inside your stomach and your digestive tract. And when you intake food, just like he was saying, intaking water, it helps you expel the water. When you intake food and it's digesting, and if you put like a mixture of different shit that's slow digesting or whatever, it takes a while to get rid of. But if you put in food, the elves take it. And how Dave was saying, like, the fat goes to your brain, the carbs go to your muscles, protein goes to your muscles. Like, they all have a job in your body.
Absolutely.
So if you can start to think of food as having a job for your body, and that's why you're eating it. That's why, like, in society now, because it's so easy to get to and everything like that, people don't fully like grasp it. But you're eating in order to fuel your body to do its functions, literally just to function, to think, to breathe. Your body needs this to be intaken. Then add on top of physical activity, you're just depleting yourself. So if you think about little elves in your stomach, you give the elves what the fuck they need. What the fuck they need. So again, protein goes to the muscles, you get fat to the brain, carbs go into it. If you continue to feed and give the elves what they need throughout the day so that they continue to disperse and give it to where they need, then you just keep going. If they're just sitting on it, they're just like, they're just holding on to it because they're like, when are we going to get our next shipment so that we can push it out again? So they're just holding on to them. And then if you give them something that they don't need and it's not enough, like we were talking about fiber or protein to push it out, like if you're eating enough and you're eating shit, you're going to shit out the bad stuff. But if you're not intaking enough calories in general, it's just going to sit there. Then they're like, I don't really want this to do anything. So they just push it to a place. It's kind of like filling up your closet with shit you don't need anymore. Yeah. And then it's just like packing up. And then your entire closet is full of shit because you don't need any of that stuff, but you're not getting rid of it because you're not intaking, you're not cycling through all of these things. You're not helping your elves get rid of all of the shit. They're just stuffing
super creepy elves in.
That's all I do. I just picture these elves like in Santa's fucking workshop, like here, this goes here, this goes here. Oh fuck, we're putting it in the closet. We don't need this shit. Put it in the closet. And that's your storage. So think of like your food going in and little elves dispersing it everywhere.
For the noise.
The conveyor belt. But if you keep pushing it out, they don't have enough time. They just fucking push it down the chute, shit it right out. Yep. Keep eating throughout the day.
Keep the elves active.
Keep the fucking elves active and they won't store shit in your closet.
There you go. That's all you need to know, guys.
That's it. It's science.
Yeah. Oh, I use a similar analogy. It's not fucking elves, but I talk about like in terms of like needing the different components, like having a car, like you need gas, oil, antifreeze. It's like if you put fucking gas where the oil goes, you know, like it's going to break down. It fucks everything up. And it's like, you need the fats, you need the carbs, you need the protein, and they all go to their own respective places.
I just picture elves.
Yeah. Now I might have to switch it now.
You're fucked. Yeah. You got to put all the trash things they don't need in the fucking
elves
closet.
And like good presents, bad presents.
Yes, literally. Think of that way. You're like, fuck, I don't want to fucking fill up my closet with shit. I got to help the elves fucking push it out. Guys. All right. Court, did you have anything you want to ask him besides like nutrition wise? What did you come in?
Well, you said that you work for yourself, obviously. So how did you build your platform? Because you're pretty big on social media. So like, how did that start? Like, were you working for the corporate company and like we're doing social media and then just that kicked off? So you like took over?
Yeah. So I, all of that, it was, so I've talked about this a little on our other episodes, but so I had a corporate job for like 8 years. And for like kind of the last half of that, I was building a business outside of that.
Yeah.
I owned a chain of bars and restaurants that I was doing with a business partner. And sort of around all of that, I started putting out content, kind of more business related, entrepreneurship related content. And I invested heavily in real estate. So I was putting out stuff related to that. And that's how I started to kind of build a following. And I was a big fan of Gary Vee and, you know,
I love him.
Yeah, all of his books. Yeah, like I mean, he was so far ahead of the curve in terms of personal branding and everything.
Yeah.
So I was a big fan of his, and obviously growing the bar business, I saw it as a way to just get exposure for those businesses as well. And so that's how I started doing all of that. And then, you know, it transitioned once I sold the bar business and everything to more fitness related content. I mean, all the while I was putting out stuff like you can be successful in business and take care of your body and all that shit too. But it was just a slow burn. I mean, it's just been going at it for years and just slowly picking people up. And I think the key is just don't do your social media with a goal of gaining followers. Just do your social media with a goal of being genuine and putting useful information out there. And the following will come, you know. And I work a lot now with influencers and athletes and sales reps and shit through First Form. And
are you an influencer?
No. I hate that, and I hate that I even used that when I was just describing.
When you said it, I was like, oh.
But so I work with a lot of these people, and people get discouraged coming into our sales rep program, for example, and they're like, I only have 580 followers. I'm never going to be able to get to, and they'll see like, you know, people with 20,000 followers and 100,000, and it can be discouraging. But what I tell those folks is like, look, you've got 580 people who give a fuck about what you're talking about. Like, picture them in a room. That's a lot of fucking people. If you walked into that room, you'd probably be nervous to speak.
100%.
So keep that in mind, just to folks who are trying to build a following, whatever your reason is for building a following. And then just keep doing it. And again, like, don't do it to fucking get followers and feel like you're important. Like, at the end of the day, followers don't mean fucking shit. No. But I mean, I can tell you from experience, and we've had people through, again, First Form with millions of followers that don't do shit for the brand in terms of folks buying product, etc. And then people with 1,000 followers who sell way more. Yeah. And it's all about having a quality engagement, right, in terms of the people who follow you. Yeah. Simon Sinek talks about having raving fans, and it's that same concept, right? Like, people who are fully bought into what you're doing. I would much rather have 500 people who are fully bought into what I'm talking about and genuinely give a shit about what I'm saying than 500,000 who just want to see
that ass.
Yeah.
Like, I actually get like shocked when like people like DM me and they're like, wait, I actually like really want to know more information about that. And like, when I went back into the salon, like, a lot of the interns were asking me like, oh, I want to get that many following. I was like, don't focus on the following. Focus on what you're putting out there. Like, stay true to who you are. And like, I'll have people send me things and I'm like, I'm not promoting it unless I truly believe in it. Because I'm not going to be that person to be like, oh, I like this because they're paying. And you're like, no, I'm going to try your thing. If I don't like it, and if it sucks, I'm going to say it sucks. Like, sorry. And
just keep in mind that a lot of this whole following bullshit is just a factor as well of like how long they've been doing it.
Exactly. Like, I've been in the industry for 8 years and people don't realize. I'm like, my following does not say how good I am. I'm like, there's people with 1,000 followers that are way better than me, and I'll even call them out. Like, that doesn't matter.
And there's people still today who aren't even on social media who are the best at what they fucking do.
Some of the smartest trainers I know either like have like under 1,000 followers or don't even have it fucking Instagram.
Because they don't need it.
Yeah.
Because word of mouth is the most powerful. I think the heater just turned off. That was the noise.
Oh, I was like, something. Brandon, something died.
Brandon.
We died, Brandon.
But like, word of mouth is by far the most powerful form of social media.
And people forget about that. Like, a lot of the older stylists that I work with, I try to sit there and help them with their social media. And I explained to them, I was like, guys, you have a full book. People are like on a wait list to get in. Why are you so worried about what you're putting out there? Yeah. Like, still, they're like, well, we have to keep up. I'm like, you don't have to keep up because those clients are still referring people to you.
Yeah, exactly. And so that, in terms of how I built my platform or whatever, that's it. Like, just
he held a sign up above his head.
Yeah, and so I did.
How did that start? Yeah, how did that start?
So that was another thing that just kind of happened when the COVID shit went down. I was putting out training videos not wearing a mask, because I live in South Carolina where we had like everything's been pretty much open since the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, my gym has been open, no masks for like months and months and months. And so just releasing training videos, not wearing a mask, I got a lot of pushback, like, why aren't you wearing a mask? So I released a video talking about the science behind why wearing a cloth mask in the gym setting can be a liability for spreading disease. And the whole message was like, do what you want to do your own research, but this is why I'm not wearing a mask. Mm-hmm. So I put that out there. I was like, cool, I did that. I felt good about it. And then everybody was like, fuck you, piece of shit, like blah, 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 blah. And like, I lost clients, I got blocked by friends, like all this stuff. And so that's when I did the signpost, which was just, and I didn't think twice about it. Like, I wasn't trying to go viral, but it was like, we can disagree and still be friends.
Yeah.
And I put that out literally so that like the people who were like blocking me and who fired me as their coach and shit would see that, But next thing I knew, it had been shared like, a million times on Facebook and all that. And so I just decided that, well, if I've got something to say, this seems to work. And I picked up a lot of followers that way, for sure.
Oh, that's cool.
But awesome. Again, like,
but at least you're like you're staying true to who you are no matter what. No matter how many followers you get, even if you get 1 million tomorrow, like, you're still going to stay true to who you are. And that's what I feel like people forget, because they're like, I got to fit in with what everybody else is doing. Or like, I got to fit in with, all my clients agree with this. I got to fit with them. Like, no, like, stay true to who you are. And that's what's going to help. That's what's going to attract the people that are supposed to be with you.
And you'll keep better company that way anyway. Yeah. You don't have to be on your fucking edge all the time trying to please everybody. You'll
sleep better at night.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Well, that's an experience. I sleep like shit, but that's just me as a person. No, like, you'll feel better about who you are and what you're doing, I guess. That's just an expression. But what I was going to say also about all of that shit is being true to yourself along those lines. Like, don't get caught up in like how many likes you get on a fucking post either, right? Because if you put something out there that's an important message that you think people need to hear, put it out and fucking leave it, and don't pay attention to the number of likes, or because you get into this vicious cycle of like that being the validation that it was important. If you think it's important, that's enough. Put it out. Just fucking put it out and walk away. Joe Rogan's a big proponent of that. He's like, I don't read comments. I don't look at it. He's like, I put my shit out and I walk away. He's like, I post it and then there's some expression he uses, but like, don't let the greater milieu of fucking people and their ideas influence what you put out, because you are unique, right? And you've got shit to say. Just say it. You know, you will find people that it resonates with. There's 7 billion people in this fucking world. You know, don't worry about, oh my God, it only got however many whatever fucking likes.
For sure.
So why don't you, we'll wrap it up now. Why don't you give us your beauty tip and just some, I know that we spoke a shit ton about nutrition, but we always end with a fitness and beauty tip. So throw out your beauty tip first.
So, mohawks are very stylish. I recommend them. And then
somebody at the gas station the other day, she was like, we were coming back from Pittsburgh, and some lady at the gas station goes up to Tut and was like, oh, that guy has mohawk. My second grader has the same fucking haircut.
That did happen. No. So people ask me about my beard. I guess that's the only thing I can really talk about.
I did ask you. I was like, you should talk about how you maintain your beard.
And the biggest thing that guys ask me about is like, how do you get it to like lay flat, be straight, or however you want to phrase it? Because normally it's like, if you're a guy with a beard, you know this, like it's poofy and afro-y or whatever you want to call it. Beard oil, a comb, and a hair dryer pointing downward right after you get out of the shower. And that'll help take care of it. That's what I do.
Yeah, he blow dries his beard.
You shampoo it.
Shampoo and conditioner.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, and that'll help soften it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, make sure you put like a lot of moisturizer on underneath too, because
your skin
gotta keep your skin.
and shit.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, it's funny because like a beard is this canonical like manly man thing, but for me, having a beard has required more personal care products and shit than I've ever had in my life. And it's like, I guess it's a manly thing, but also, you know.
Well, if you blow dry it and you're blow drying it straight, you're blow drying the cuticle down. So that's what gets it to go straight, versus if you're like just blow drying like that, it's going to just go all over the place because your cuticle's not flat.
Yeah, or from the biochemical perspective, you're helping break disulfide bonds.
There you go. Now I'm going to use that for my clients.
All right, smartass. What about your fitness tip?
Fitness tip, I mean, just what we talked about. Don't overcomplicate things. Stick to the basics of getting enough water. So try to drink a gallon of water a day. Try to get 6 to 8 hours of sleep. Try to eat a gram of protein per pound of goal body weight. And try to eat, if you're trying to lose fat, eat 12 calories per pound of goal body weight per day. Do those things along with working out, and you will get fucking results.
Boom. All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking your time, since you're such an influencer.
I'm so influenced now.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully you got a lot of information from this one. I know we've been having long ones, but we bring on these people that just have so much to offer you guys, and all the feedback that we're getting. Again, if you have any more questions or topics that you want us to touch on, guests that you want us to hear, just keep throwing it in, and we'll produce that for you guys. Thank you to our sponsors,
FD Performance Labs and Commando.
No Windy Sleeves, and to our brother cast,
Brother
Pod, Man Card. Check them out. Subscribe. Check you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.